Hi, Ben Beaton here. In about May, June of 2010, I was asked to be the artist for the Burke and Wills environmental expedition, which was following in the footsteps of Burke and Wills 150 years after their original journey from Melbourne to the Gulf. One of the objectives of this expedition was to document the environmental changes that had taken place since the original expedition, and also the people on the ground that were working to preserve Australia's natural environment. So my background up until this point had been in creating artist residency artworks. Now, the concept of an artist residency is where you go to a location and you create images. For myself, what I do is creating images based on the ecology, geology and deep time history of environments. And I'll show you some examples of the type of work that you'd see at my website, which is benbeaton.com.au. That's www.benbeaton.com.au. So initially, when I started these residencies, I was looking to follow in the footsteps of artists who had become successful in creating images that gave white Australia a little bit more of a mythological background to who we are and what we are. And artists I'm talking about are people such as Sidney Nolan with his Ned Kelly images, Arthur Boyd, Russell Drysdale, John Olsen, Donald Friend, Brett Whiteley to an extent. But my interest was in actually looking at the evolution of Australia's natural history, and this is the style that I developed from that process. So with the Burke and Wills environmental expedition, things were obviously a little different. When you're travelling through a landscape and in a vehicle, and also you have to document the different people, the different stories that we were encountering every day. I really had to change my style from this style to more of a postcard sort of style, in which I was able to put a lot more information in a lot more quickly. Now, one of the things about the images that you're seeing here is that a lot of text goes with these images, and generally people don't read that, and I've found that somewhat difficult because, for instance, I work more so with tourism groups now. I did one out at Lake Air with Wrights Air, and I took a paleobotanist out with me. There's so much information that I thought, well, film is probably the best way to do that. So you're looking here at the complete work thus far. Each image is A4 in size, so that kids at schools can print them out and join them together, and then they can look at the individual images. And the good thing about this is that there are films that relate to most of these images. So I'll just zoom in, and after this I'm going to take you through the whole image in 3 parts, because yeah, as you can see, the resolution isn't so good because I've got the whole thing up. This is as good as it gets at this with the whole image in one go. But anyway, when you view the images separately, you can print them out at high resolution, and you can also watch the films that go with them. Almost every one of these images has films that go with them, with scientists, different environmental leaders talking about the environmental issues that we encountered on the trip. And what I'm hoping is that this project will become something that schools will undertake, get involved in around Australia. Kids can print them out, join them together, watch the films, and it'll increase intrigue, and it opens up really more questions than answers, really. because what I'm looking at in a lot of these images is not just the environmental issues on the ground as they stand now, but also the deep time history of Australia that most people perhaps don't know a great deal about. So going back not just millions of years but hundreds of millions of years, showing where Australia was, say even 700 million years ago, a billion years ago, which is 1,000 million years. And it's a way of overlapping the macrocosms and microcosms of environment in one long image. So as you can see, they're more like postcards, these sorts of pictures. They're not like the kind of artworks I would usually create for residencies, and that's simply due to the time factor. There simply wasn't enough time to be able to sit down and make the artworks that I would usually make. But there is a series of artworks that I will be putting on the Ben Beaton site on this project, but that'll take a while for them to be completed. So if you go to the Culture Victoria website, and I hope that you enjoy this. There's a lot there thus far, and because of the rain this year there was a section that we couldn't do, so we're going to be going back next year and completing the project. Now the next 3 films deal with these in separate sections, so you can see them at a high resolution. So you've got 1, 2, 3. Anyway, I hope that you get something out of this, and importantly I hope that kids at schools will find this exciting and another way of getting into how fascinating the natural world is, and what wonderful career paths are available in science to learn more about this fascinating planet that we live on, that is always evolving and changing through deep time, from its beginnings about 4.6 billion years ago when Proto-Earth collided with Theia, to its future, and we're on a middle-aged star, so we've got potentially billions of years to go.